Plymouth Village Water and Sewer District going. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Meeting minutes, October 8th. October 8th,
Okay.
which was almost yesterday. Just in
Yeah.
my book.
Those are great. Thank you so much to Regina for taking those.
Yeah, she's great.
She's doing a great job.
Good.
But I'll need a motion, please, to,
So moved.
Second,
all those in favor there.
aye.
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 All right, so also a motion, please, for payroll and manifest, recent ones that we've signed off on, will sign off on.
Sure. Motion to accept payroll manifest is executed.
Second.
All those in favor there.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, on to new business. Back to 2025, Back to the Future on budget preparation.
Okay. I have a couple of updates on the administrative side. So the health insurance actually is more in a reasonable place this year. For the past couple of years, it's been in the 8 to 13% increases, and it's at 2.2. That's
We like
good
that.
news.
We do like that.
Dental does have a 5%, but that's a very small portion of the dental price. Primex for property liability is up 15%.
Wow.
They say that has to do with nationally all the fires,
It's
the hurricanes.
15% of your payroll?
No, 15% on property liability insurance.
Insurance.
Okay, so it's 15% over last year. So what was the premium?
I
you know?
have that,
It was
yeah.
just about, I think, just under 30,000.
Okay, that's good, thank you.
4,500, yeah. Wow.
It's, actually, it's 20,000 is the
Oh.
property. Yep.
Great. And that encompasses all of our, no,
Our buildings, our trucks, our property. Yep.
really?
Yep.
Machines and everything, the pump stations and all that stuff? Jeez.
And
And
let's
legal
see,
coverage shows-
unemployment, 4.9 for unemployment.
Oh.
And workers' comp is up 18.8.
Mhm.
So there will be some increases there. We are still working on the debt service. We're anticipating that some of the Holderness Well money will come online. We'll be looking to close those loans probably early 2025. So Kathy's working to try to finalize. It's a little bit of a guessing game because we don't have the exact dates and what the exact interest is going to be, but she's trying to put something together so we have a pretty good idea of when that might start. We did hear from the auditors finally this week that the 2023 audit is close to being done. They do have the single audit still to go, which is the 3 Main Street projects. And Jason and I are meeting tomorrow to go over a big list of items that they're gonna need from us to start that part. But hopefully, we're gonna get our management letter and get our audit up for 2023 underway before we have to start 2024.
Trying to push them along.
It's not unusual, unfortunately, to end up this far in the year, but we somehow have not got them to get us sooner.
But we told them we need the numbers so we can make decisions for next year as well.
Right.
Of course, yeah.
So that's what I have. Do you have any other updates for the budget?
No large changes in the operations side projected budget. We did move some money around from a few line items up into the residuals because we're gonna increase the residuals next year. It'll probably be about a $50,000 increase in that because of added costs for solids, wastewater solids removal and grit removal. But we've come down on several line items like chemicals, for example. We're finally seeing some stabilization in chemicals this next year that we haven't seen since before COVID. So
Wow.
they haven't told us to budget 25 to 50% increases at each quarter.
Oh,
So we're seeing some stabilization there, stabilization in electric utility rates as well. So some of those costs will balance out some of the increases we see. So overall, we're projecting a 1 to 2% increase in operations expenses.
That's great.
So next month, we hope to have the final numbers to present, and then we can start talking rates as well.
Yes.
How many years do you depreciate these pump stations and all this infrastructure you do?
Most of the buildings are 50 years,
50 years?
Yeah.
Really?
30 to 50
You
years.
got tin buildings, you mean, because of metal?
Concrete, yeah.
But what about like a pump station? How many years would you do to that?
Yeah, probably 30 years.
Really?
Yeah.
But you break out the motors and stuff?
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, motors are typically 10 to 15.
okay. Great.
As if we get that much.
So anything over 10,000 is our threshold for, at depreciating assets.
Oh, okay, I see.
Some of our pump stations, the smaller ones, like along Fairgrounds Road,
Yeah,
and some of the outliers have pumps that are only worth really about $3,500 a piece.
sure,
So
yeah.
those pumps really don't even make it into our depreciation list.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
Wow. But
They're
you got the
throwaways, yeah.
hole.
Yeah.
You got the hole in the house around it,
Right.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, so the cost of that is factored in. And it's, pretty much straight line depreciation on all of our stuff.
Sure, okay. That's all I had.
Good question, though. Relevant question. On to proposed warrant articles.
We're gonna let Jason in.
Yes, I figured you might want to.
So we're working on a few things for next year. We're about 30% design on our Highland Street, Emerson Street, and Reservoir Road project. And the engineers are projecting a shortfall on the water side of the project only, and a windfall on the sewer side of the project. So.
And how might we reconcile that?
So on the water side of the project, we have about a $3.7 million shortfall.
Really?
Based on the newest pricing and bid pricing that they're seeing for the project. So that's a significant increase.
That's, what was it,
Compared to what
what
we
was it
originally-
before? Do you remember?
Before we were about a $6 million project.
Oh, it's okay,
And
so
now
it's like a
gonna be close to
50% improvement.
Close to a $10 million project.
50%. Is that materials or labor or both?
Both.
Yeah.
Because some of these numbers were, it was just 2 years ago, we passed the warrant article for these projects.
Right.
And since then, they've gone up that much.
The sewer pipe is less. The sewer is
The
cheaper.
sewer,
Images of
the
it.
sewer, we worked with Wright Pierce to reduce the scope on that. So instead of full replacements, we're gonna be doing more slip lining like we did on Main Street. For those pipes, replacing a few select manholes that are in dire need of replacement. But the windfall on that is about $1 million, so we've come in
Wait, you
under.
can't do that on water lines, huh, on the big water lines?
No, not on the lines that we have,
Yeah.
because there's too many penetrations in it, so each
Oh, I see, sure,
service or a valve or a hydrant
Oh,
would need
would
to be
run
dug
right out.
anyway.
yeah.
Yeah.
And water lines really matter. You know what
Yep.
I mean? You don't, that's what leach is, that's what people drink. The sewer, then nobody's drinking them.
Well,
You think
been a lot
that,
of patches along Highlands.
do you, either one of you think that that these funds are in jeopardy with the new regime coming down?
We don't know. But I mean, we have
I
to
mean,
have, we have to have the warrant.
You've got what you got, and you got what's all signed up for.
Right.
But, I mean, if he was to go with a big, back to the States, I mean, we're all committed for Holderness and everything that we've done.
These projects are committed, we have loan and grants on these. The
they are-
shortfall, we're actually applying, we're gonna be reapplying to the New Hampshire Groundwater Trust Fund
Yep,
for a combination of loan and grant, so potentially up to 50% of that 3.7 million could be in the form of grant,
wow, that'd be
which will
great.
reduce our burden significantly, so that's what
Yeah,
we're hoping on right now, but we won't have those results until probably after January, so by that
Okay.
time, we would have to have our warrant article already written.
We can't use the $1 million shortfall on sewer for for water, is that?
Not the way the warrant article was written in
That's what I
2022.
was gonna ask, is was it a joint article at Sim?
Yeah,
No, the way they were written was specifically with a loan amount up to and a grant amount not below for each road.
So where does that
Yeah.
money go, like to the fund balance or something? Or it just doesn't get borrowed?
Just
Or-
doesn't get
Doesn't
used,
get borrowed.
Yeah, what, doesn't,
doesn't get borrowed or used.
doesn't get,
Yeah.
oh,
right,
okay,
so we're,
just
yeah, if we don't have the
disappears.
warrant articles in place, then nothing, we can't.
So, those warrant articles were very specific in 2022, so we don't have that luxury of shifting the money between water and sewer there.
And what would
Yeah.
happen if we put up a warrant article for that extra money and it doesn't pass?
Then it's potentially reconfiguring the scope of each project, reducing the scope would likely have to happen.
And this over here, is this got a commitment to it?
The sewer force main, yep, that was on one of
That's
our
a-
reports tonight, and that was
Great.
that we have some pricing on from a contractor, and we're working through potentially with rural development, DES executing a change order right now under the Main Street project
Very good.
within budget.
Oh, within budget,
Yep.
yes.
So that's the Highland Street shortfall, and we'll have draft language for that in December as well. We're hoping to put all three of those roads together in a single warrant and write it very broadly so that we have the the authority to make the decision if we do reduce scope, which road that money can go towards. We have the 2.5 million gallon tank replacement. That's been our high priority of ours over the last several years. It's listed in the master plan.
This is on Reservoir Road?
Yes, yep, so it's
Didn't you
our,
just go in and re-cement it in there few years ago?
we clean it every few years.
You did? Oh, I thought they went in and did a pretty big rebuild. Oh, you put another one back up the hill?
Yes, and back in 2005, the
There- oh, okay.
lower tank was replaced.
Oh,
So
okay.
this tank is from 1972.
Oh.
Original tank feeds up the entire lower pressure system, which is mostly downtown, Tenny Mountain Highway, all of the low-lying areas, Fairgrounds Road. And that tank is in need of either rehab or replacement, and we are proposing replacement at this time because there is no way for us to take that tank offline right now to rehab it. So we would have to build a second tank
Oh,
in
okay.
order to operate the system continuously and provide fire protection is the biggest factor on that.
Right.
We can't take the tank down. We could probably operate domestic water needs just by running our pumps at Foster Street. But when it comes to fire protection, we need that tank at all times.
How's the acreage up there?
We have plenty of property to set one right next to.
That's
The
like
existing
totally
one.
good news, huh?
Yeah. So that
So what do you
project.
build, what do they build with one of those big mushrooms there?
No,
Like they do in
it'll
the
sit right
cities.
on the ground because we have enough elevation at that point.
You do?
If we
Yeah.
were to build one, down on Tenny Mountain Highway or down in the Main Street area, then we
You'd
may
have
have
to do
to
like that. I see.
elevate one, but we're fortunate to have the hill up there.
And if you, let's say that we do get this one passed and you build a replacement, what would you do with the old one? Would you tear it down or would you?
Probably.
No, we
look
would
at
rehab it.
Rehab it.
And
Oh.
then use that, probably rotate them on a certain period or basis when we need one or the other. We can still utilize it. The tank is our, Gary will defend me on that, the tank is our most important asset, most valuable asset in our system right now.
And how do you build a new one?
Pretty,
Modular like?
yeah, it could be built out of pre-stressed concrete
Okay.
or even some of the newer technology is steel as well.
Okay, so pre-stressed concrete all forms, so it would
Yep.
run around in a circle, you stack them up.
So,
Or steel would just be just a steel wall with ribbon.
so there's different options there, but this week we're submitting a strategic planning grant in order to start some of the preliminary engineering on that project. So that'll be a $30,000 grant with 50% match from the district. So
Wow.
15,000 we've included in the budget to fund that. So hopefully we get that and we can start on the preliminary engineering. But the cost for a tank are also pretty expensive, up around $6 to $7 million to build a new.
What? For a bunch of
Concrete's expensive.
concrete
Concrete's
barriers,
expensive.
rounded concrete barriers.
So
You're
over the
kidding.
last couple of years, we've had some inspections of that tank, and there's
Yeah.
been some internal concrete scaling that's been noticed. The divers have actually done some patchwork in there,
Oh,
especially around the overflow pipe. So there's a pipe in there that if it overflows, it goes out. And around the bottom of that pipe, some of the concrete's been spalling off of it. And we did have a slight leak right at the bottom of that pipe a couple of years ago that's been repaired, and it's been holding ever since. But it's recommended the best way to rehab it is to take it completely offline, drain all the water out. It's very difficult to do those repairs
I can't believe it's that much money.
consistently in a,
Do they do poured concrete?
no, it's like kind of like putty. They make some putty and then they take it down with them in the dive suits.
Oh, yeah, for the patch.
Yeah.
But do they do poured concrete tanks?
Yeah, cast in place, yeah.
Precast is, no.
But precast is very, very common. They also do cast in place.
And that, but they're all that, like $10 million, huh?
Yeah, yep. It's very expensive. So that's one that we're putting up. We don't have, obviously, the exact number of the funding on that. We'll hopefully get that with some of the preliminary engineering, but that was our engineer's ballpark guess, was in the $6 to $7 million range.
Just wait a couple of
6
years,
or
it'll be
7.
10 to 12.
Exactly.
Good
So
Lord.
Yeah.
that's the hard part on some of these warrant articles without having the engineering.
Yeah,
Some of the engineering already done, it's, their best guess
just a guess.
based on current
Yeah.
construction that they've seen. Water well number 1 replacement, that's right down here at Foster Street, so our plan all along was to replace well 1 once our Holderness wells get placed online. And well 1 needs replacement because its original 1952 bronze screen that is failing. Our contractor that went in there to clean it probably 6 or 7 years ago now said that was likely the last time he'd be cleaning that because it's so brittle he doesn't want to
Touch it.
harm it. Yeah. So that the well 2 out in the yard. That well, we were actually able to slip line with a stainless steel screen inside the old screen, but this one being in the building in the basement, you'd have to tear half the basement down to get into it to do that same treatment. So their recommendation is to set right outside the building and drill a new well right there, right next to the existing one.
Mhm.
So that was about $750,000.
To drill a new one and build it there?
Yep.
And that's good, but that's got all your chemical injections, doesn't it?
Yes. Yep.
That's just a room with a pipe?
Yeah, you can pipe that over. Yep.
Oh, okay.
And then sewer treatment plant, master plan. We're looking to fund the second phase of the master plan, which will be the treatment plant, which will include a plan for grit removal. So the master plan, if you recall, we're working on phase 1 right now, which is the pump stations and all the outlying facilities, and then phase 2 was the actual treatment plant itself. So my hope is that the treatment plant master plan will give us guidance on future improvements due to regulations coming down the line, such as PFAS. We know also we're monitoring for nutrients such as nitrogen and phosphorus. We may see those in our next permit cycle. So having the treatment plant master plan will give us at least a basis of understanding of what it will look like to improve the treatment there to meet those standards. And also
So that's more
grit
chemicals.
removal.
To
Potentially.
counterbalance nitrogen phosphorus.
Potentially you can offset nutrients with either chemically or biologically. There's very limited biological treatment in an RBC, a rotating biological contactor system like we have.
Oh, I see.
Most of the conventional activated sludge type systems have a better chance at biologically reducing those
Oh, I see.
compounds, yeah.
Hmm.
So that is about, I believe, a $300,000 master plan. We will be seeking additional funding for that as well through the Clean Water SRF. Sewer, electric, and HVAC upgrades. As we're aware, the treatment plant had some electric issues. We are working on a transfer switch right now that's being replaced by a contractor, and they've had trouble getting that transfer switch programmed and up to be able to operate off of our generator. So we're actually on a temporary generator right now sitting outside the treatment plant until they can get that up to snuff. But in their investigation into some of these issues, they've identified additional problems.
Sure.
And they'll be coming in for the full assessment probably in the next couple of weeks
These
before the
are
end.
wiring issues? Is that what?
Some of them are wiring issues, some of them are breaker issues, and some of it's just obsolete equipment.
Right.
So do you have the generator outside for weeks?
So the generator that they brought on site is a trailer generator,
Okay.
which is
So it's
meant
a
to be
quiet
portable. Yeah. But we're
Like a
wired
compressor.
to that right now because they can't wire it to our existing generator until they figure out some of the programming.
So wouldn't proposed electrical HVAC upgrades fall under the treatment plant
Master plan
master
as well.
plan?
Yep.
But this is separate in that they're giving us an assessment just to solve this particular.
Right,
Issue.
the initial assessment, but also trying to build in what we anticipate. So if we get this passed next year, doesn't mean that we have to tackle the whole thing next year, but hopefully within the next couple of years, we can work in phases to improve the.
I see, so
Yeah.
in some ways they're working with Wright Pierce so that to do things that they would approve, is that?
Yeah, so I talked to Wright Pierce, and Wright Pierce won't do an assessment. They'll design electrical, but they won't assess electrical.
I see, okay.
It makes sense. Some places only do.
So they
New
said, you're
construction.
best off working with your contractor to identify the issues, then we can work with them to design the corrective action.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right, so this is hand in hand here, all right.
I'm sure that they designed it to be material in the whole building.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
right.
So
Way to
we'll
More billable hours.
we'll hopefully have some better understanding of the exact issues and the scope of this come December.
That'd be great.
Somehow I don't think that's a small price tag, but
No, it's definitely in the millions, I would
Yeah.
I
say.
think we have small price
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
hey, 300,000 just for the master plan there, that's a small number in this room.
And then we have the sewer dewatering, sludge drying, and trailer bay improvements. So as we know, we're likely to see PFAS regulations coming out within the next couple of months. It's been delayed a little bit because of staffing issues at DES. They've had a longtime staff member resign that was working on that project, and they'll have to pick it up again shortly. But we can all see the writing on the wall that any way we can to try to reduce the volume of material would be our best approach at this point. The destruction technology really isn't there yet to be fiscally able for small systems to be able to take on projects that will destroy the compounds. But a sludge drying would be required prior to destruction in either scenario. So I think this would be a phased approach. Again, we would have to dewater based on what we're currently doing with the press that we have to get it to about 30% solids, and then the sludge dryer would bring it to about 90% solids. And then we have options to either landfill it or still recycle it, or go to a next step for destruction. So even if they built a regional facility for destruction of the compounds, we would have a better opportunity if we had a drier material going to that facility.
All right, so dumb question. In this dewatering process, is PFAS compounds not getting into the water? And
Yep, that's a good question. So we have different kinds of PFAS compounds. There's over, I think, 5,000 within the class. And what the science has told us is that the longer chain PFAS compounds, the more carbon within the compound will bind to the solids.
Right.
So our legacy chemicals, PFOA, PFOS, have long chains, I think of 8 or more carbons, and those have a tendency to bind to the solids. Whereas the shorter chain compounds, the newer technology, Gen X and all of those, have shorter chains and they tend to go with the liquids. So right now we have 4 PFAS compounds in New Hampshire that are regulated in drinking water. It's likely that those same 4 compounds would be regulated in wastewater and sludge, but there's a number of compounds that are on EPA's list to figure out. It could be up to 20 to 40. There's different ranges right now that we're testing for, so it could be any number of those compounds, long or short chain.
Might the state just kick this down the can down the road, or what?
Likely
New
not,
invention.
based on the level of impact right now.
Yeah.
And the state is in litigation, and so is the impacts to drinking water. So as long as there's impacts to drinking water with direct health implications, they'll likely be moving forward on the wastewater regulations.
What was that trailer you had brought down there that was supposed to do something? It was
Do with the grit?
Huh? To
Was that
grit?
do with the grit?
The grit container?
Yeah, is that it? Yeah, the guy was gonna back it in, we wanna lease it for, 6 months or something
Yep.
and try it out.
So that worked great for degritting. The problem was getting it out of the tank. He didn't have pumps that were big enough to pump 25 feet down.
Ooh,
And so we just had to have the Vactor truck company coming in and Vactor all that material out, dump it on the drying pad. He had to pull off the drying pad into the container, dry it, and then re-dump it back on.
oh my God.
So it was a roundabout process,
Yeah.
but we did end up getting a drier material
You
using
did.
that vendor's
So that technology is
container.
valid if you
Yeah.
could find out a way to drain it,
right
take it out of
to
it.
get it out of the tank in the first place.
Yeah, how fluid is that stuff when it gets through?
It's pretty hard. It's like concrete at the bottom of the tank. So
Really?
when you get down there, it's very tough. So they actually have to hose it and liquefy it to try to get it to just be able to suck up.
Great.
so might we see an end to land application of sludge? Is that coming?
The rumor is Class B material would be ended under the new rules. Class A material still would have an opportunity for land application, but Class A is just really a higher level of treatment than what we were doing with lime stabilization, for example. A higher level of pathogen and vector attraction reduction.
And so they passed this PFOA thing, then we put in for a variance until we, a waiver. If we're one of the ones that are immediately in violation of that, right? They don't give us an order to straighten
Once
it out.
it becomes rule, there's likely no waivers on a health-based rule.
So what does that mean?
That's
It means this, right here.
Yeah,
You-
it's gonna be expensive. That's what that means.
So essentially, we'd have options at that point. They'd, pretty much require us to landfill it if we
Yeah.
couldn't meet the standard.
Yeah, I mean, that, I mean, should we be talking about the financial impact of that? Where could this go, number-wise?
For the,
I mean, if we were, if there is a change here, I mean, how much of a increase in cost might we be looking at?
I think the costs are pretty considerable to where we're at now to go to landfill. So it's really
Comparable to where we are now, or
Comparable.
considerably more
comparable. So the per ton cost, the trucking fee is where you'll see it
An
a
increase.
lot higher. And there's limited capacity, as we know, at Bethlehem landfill where we're bringing grit right now. So the trucking could require us to go to
It just isn't
Coventry,
fair.
Vermont is the next closest landfill. And then after that, it could be upstate New York.
So are we talking hundreds of thousands of dollars here?
No, we're talking about how many trucks are you talking about?
We do about a trailer load a week, so I would say about 50 trucks a year.
Wow,
Probably trucking fees be in the $750 to $1,000 a whole range.
wow.
So it's about
75,000, so.
$50,000 to $100,000 increase.
All right.
Well, that's good.
And then just,
That's
I mean,
interesting.
in that last
Not good.
bullet point there, the
Any increases
sewer
in
dewatering, sludge drying, trailer bay improvements, what magnitude of, general magnitude of money are we talking about?
So that's up around 10 million.
10 million.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that includes all of the conveyors and machinery to get the sludge from the dewatering press into the trailer bay. Because all of that equipment has been obsolete since essentially a year or two after it was installed. And it has known maintenance issues with that as well.
So what would be the lifespan of these changes?
The changes hopefully would be a 30-year lifespan.
All right, so, I mean,
If
the
we buy
cost
equipment
savings.
that's not obsolete.
I was gonna say, if it's not obsolete 2 years down the road.
Right, yeah, let's assume we're making a wise engineering decision here, yeah, well, then I guess the recapture on savings, because dewatering is gonna be it's gonna be, over time, gonna be a fair amount.
Right.
What's resource management? I thought he takes your stuff.
Yep, they take our stuff right now, yeah, our
And
sludge.
so, but now he's not gonna be able to take it? He's gonna want a different product, or what?
It depends on what the limits
Oh,
are.
sorry.
So if we don't meet the limit, if we meet the limit, we could still bring it to them
Okay,
and they would treat it right now to a Class A product, but our cost per ton would likely go way down and our volume would go down if we dry it, so.
oh, I see.
Up to I think it's about up to 2/3 reduction potentially by taking the sludge from 30% solids to 90%. So we're making a much smaller volume, and their cost to truck it and get rid of it would be a lot less as well, in that scenario. Because maybe instead of a truck a week, we would need a truck every 3 to 4 weeks, let's say.
I'm sorry to be glib. I was just thinking that, I read these brochures he had from people, what they do with this sludge. And one of the things they do is they actually make it into firewood. And I thought, well, great, we could make campfire wood. Anyhow,
Right,
sorry.
at 90%
But they do,
solid.
they had it, they made
It's
it into,
essentially like a pellet, almost like a wood pellet.
oh, I see, I thought if they were logs they were talking about, or if they had some bigger stuff to, like,
Yeah, it's not
anyhow.
the most pleasant thing, I believe, when it's burned, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like it's gonna be in a new episode of The Simpsons, but.
Might not please your neighbors. Are these in order of importance?
Yes,
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
so those are the
Great.
proposed warrant articles, for next year, our top priorities.
All right, well, Holderness Well project, the project
Yep.
in process as we speak.
So the Holderness Well project, we have a change order number 2, I believe it's on the table there. And this is for the chemical feed pumps for caustic at Foster Street. Under the original proposal, we have 2 pumps currently, and those pumps would have to be retrofitted to be able to handle the new controllers that are required in order to blend the 2 well sources. So one pump needs to act on one well source and another needs to act on the second. And those controllers need to determine how much caustic soda needs to be pumped into the system. And so those 2 were planned to be retrofitted. And in Wright Pierce and the contractor getting the quotes from the manufacturer, they no longer make the pumps that were originally spec'd to be retrofitted, and there would be additional electric work required to make that retrofit happen. So right now we have 120 volt. The retrofit would have to be 3-phase 480. So
okay, yes.
the alternative is to get 3 brand new pumps that are 120 volt that have the controllers already built into them, and that's what this proposal is for a $24,000 increase.
So 3 brand new pumps with the Y there that's
Yep.
coming out. This pump, this pump, this.
Yep, so there'll
Yeah.
be two pumps and a backup pump.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
We wanna put in the pumps that they can get the replacement parts for in the future.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's how quick things change too.
oh
is
wait,
just-
these are injecting chemicals into the water.
Yes, caustic soda.
Oh, okay.
So the caustic soda increases the pH in our water
Yeah,
so that it doesn't corrode the pipes
I see.
throughout town.
Yes, important.
Yep.
Very important.
You just have 220 running over there?
Nope, there's 480 volt there.
Oh, there is. I
But
thought so.
we would have to bring it into the chemical feed area, which it's not currently there.
Sure.
So we'd end up spending a lot of money on electrical.
Right, it would probably be about $20,000 in electrical, if
Right.
not more, to bring that service in. And so this was the better alternative to get 3 new pumps instead of
Sounds-
having to deal with retrofit.
Sounds clearly.
ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
do we need a motion on this, I would assume?
Yep.
Yes?
Yep.
Motion, please, to
Sure.
approve this change order number 2?
I'll make a motion to approve this change order.
Or
number
have
2.
me
Yeah.
sign?
Do I need to
off?
put an amount to that? Because I heard 24,000, but
The amount is $24,528.35. To be
Second.
exact. All those in favor here?
Aye.
I
All right, I will sign that. Okay, may the technology not change until we place that order.
That's like asking the sun not to shine, I'm sorry.
Yeah, right. Okay,
used to make the replacement parts.
yes, right.
Lord.
All right, so I think if there is no further discussion in the new business section, we will move on to old business. And item number 1, pump station fencing enclosure discussion.
So we did follow up and get some pricing on some slats for the chain link fence for pump station 1 across the road. And to do the Main Street side and the side facing Old North Main Street, it was about $3,500 to put the plastic slats in the existing chain link fence that we have. So that wouldn't do the upper portion of it, but that would just do the lower portion.
So it probably covered about, just about covered it, yeah. Have you
Yeah, just
got razor wire over the
Yes,
arm with razor wire?
so that would right
Cover the platform.
block the platform, but up above it, it wouldn't. We'd still have to figure out something for up above.
Whatever.
So that's some of the initial pricing we got. We still haven't had the contractor over there yet to look at it, but that's another option that we're going to explore as well. But just wanted to put that number out there, and then also some of our other facilities that don't have fencing currently may have fencing in the future, such as pump station number 4 out by Burger King. That station's currently not fenced in because everything is within the building, within the enclosed area. But if we end up doing improvements there in the future, we may require exterior fencing. So just wanted to broach that and open up that for discussion in the future of
That was pretty
what
well
our
swapped.
standard should be. Should it be chain link with plastic fence or something
That was
else?
pretty well shrubed before. Did they really get into big trouble? The bushes they had up there
Yeah, some of the bushes I believe were
penetrated the.
what were they burning bush? So that's an invasive
Invasive
species.
species.
Yeah, but that's like all over the place.
Still, you don't go planting it.
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah. So
So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there for
Great.
for future aesthetics and fencing that we want to see. Do we want to make chain link with plastic slats are kind
well,
of our
that looks
standard,
good.
or
I mean,
What does
that
that
looks,
really look like, chain link with
you
plastic
just
slats?
put plastic in them like that, so it's just you look at it, it's just a bunch of plastic
And then
slats.
kids find they can throw a rock and break them, and that's what happens.
Does that look
Do they
nice
break
though? 'Cause
when
that
you-
just
Oh,
doesn't
yes.
sound like it looks nice, does it?
Huh?
Does that look nice? It doesn't sound like it
Well,
looks
on
nice.
a 1 to 10 scale, it's like a
depends on what side you're
Great.
standing on the fence, right? No, it's not. It still looks industrial, I guess you'd say, if that's what the look that we're trying to avoid is.
Well, I think it should be appropriate for the neighborhood. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like this is, like we do bump up against a residential neighborhood right out here, right? I think like on Tenny Mountain Highway, that might be a little bit different. It's very business orientated, right? Where right there it is more residential.
you got a junkyard right down the street, so
I know,
Oh,
right?
We do have a wooden fence at one of our pump stations on Fairgrounds Road as well, and
okay.
that fence has been very maintenance intensive over the years, trying to keep those posts standing up straight
Right,
and
I get that.
Right.
also mold and pressure washing and treatment. So there's trade-offs.
That's a
Yeah,
good
right.
point too.
Yeah.
I mean,
They've got such good steel roofing that
Okay.
I'm seeing more and more places that are banging it on the walls, and what can you say? That's not going away
But
for a
that's
long
pretty
time.
industrial though too, right?
Huh?
It looks pretty industrial having steel.
It does, but they got them all colors, and anyhow, great.
So that might be something in combination with plantings maybe that would
Yeah.
that would make it more appealing, that the plantings may hide some of the industrialness of chain link or steel or
Yeah.
something
That's
else.
great.
So also
We
something
were going to do a
consider.
tour of the plants there at some point.
Yeah, whenever you're
Yeah,
available,
yeah,
let me know.
Are we required to have a certain type of fence around them to protect them for like
Kids.
security reasons?
So essentially, the chain link is the standard as a high security fence with the barbed wire on top, so that it keeps humans out, but also animals. So animals are another
Okay.
concern.
That's true.
We don't want anyone falling into the tanks or animals getting stuck in fans or any of that type of impacts.
But I assume that even within these enclosures, that if there's a door into a building, it's locked and it's not.
Yeah.
So, right, so someone would not just easily get inside
Fall in
to
the
any
tank.
confined space. I guess that would be my
Right.
concern.
Yeah, we make sure all hatches are closed when no one's on site.
Right.
So it sounds like there are some unique requirements, right, around the fencing for these facilities. And maybe plantings, if that is what we're stuck with, maybe plantings would be better than spending a lot of time on fencing.
But yeah, there's also a maintenance component to that as well, depending on the planting.
Depending on the
So
plantings.
we just need to be mindful of both sides and
Mm-hmm.
making our decisions in the future, but we'll definitely consider that and come to the board when the time presents itself.
All right, so second up, by request, conference room chair upgrades.
Go ahead, yeah.
So I pulled 4 examples from our WB Mason, so we generally go to the office supplies. I didn't know if there was anything in particular that you folks were looking at. I know that Tom likes the mesh style. We do presently have about $4,000 left in the 2024 budget under office supplies. So if it was something that you wanted to move forward with, there is some money presently. Or it could be a budget item for next year, it's totally up to the commission.
Well, I guess I'll put in my 2 cents and reiterate that I personally, the chair I sit in, I think is fine, and I don't see a need to replace the one that I sit in. But I'm not going to be so rigid as to say that we might not acquire one or more other chairs. That's about all I have to say on the subject.
I have an opinion if you want to hear it. My
Please.
opinion is I'm looking at all these numbers coming in, that's a frivolous expense, it's not necessary. Because we're perfectly fine in the chairs, we're in for the 1
Well-
hour, we're sitting here a month.
Yeah.
We surely are. Are there reasons beyond just us that they would be important to have, right? Do you host other meetings in
Good
here or
question.
conferences? Or
Limited, I mean,
host-
we don't spend a lot of time in this,
In here.
in this room, so.
How many hours a month between all of things? 5, 10?
Well, slow now because we don't have, construction meetings, but
Yeah,
under 5
I would say around 5, yeah.
A month?
a month.
I don't have a dog in the fight anymore. Do whatever you want. I forgot to bring my chair in for tonight.
I mean, we could buy a chair. We could
I-
buy one or
Don't
two
have- Don't buy
of
one
the
for me.
mesh.
They
If
should
you're not
match.
looking to do an upgrade for the office and change things up a little bit, it's funny. I hear these things, like this over on the screen over here, and it's such an illusion that we got all this money, that, everything's all right. And it isn't. We got Jason comes in with all his stuff, and a lot of it is still catching up with the back. And, everybody's gonna kind of pick it up. And we've come up with this opportunity. We've made a big change 2 years ago. But what else has changed? This is like the same place I came to 25 years ago. And,
Well, that's not,
business changes or it moves, it's gonna move forward or it's fall backwards, but
I mean, this
As I
building is,
said-
it's the same building, but there was extensive renovations to this building to make it,
yeah,
To
you
make
could
it
argue about
zero
that.
energy.
This is an old double wide, from the high school when they were building the other. And he got it for they just wanted it off the site. And that's what you get for a district. Jocks bought this and Anderson, and they thought they just pulled it off, but anyhow. And I was thinking about the basement here, and but it probably just has a little door, no windows, probably. The basement,
Yep.
what do we got? Little door, no windows. Anyhow, whatever you're gonna do.
other comments?
These chairs too, if they were replaced, they could be repurposed at the plant, so that's another option.
Actually, that's,
I think
So it's not like these are going to waste either.
you should see the stuff I tell people. I just looked at a whole locker and I told them I'll take it down and flip it. Nobody wants it. That's all you can do with old furniture. I'm not saying glass top table, I mean the table's adequate, but anyway, move it on.
business manager items?
We just have the 2025 health and dental insurance paperwork that we need to submit to Health Trust, and it needs chair signature on it. And that's the 2.2% increase on the health and 5% increase on dental.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So motion for me to sign the new contract for 2025 medical and dental.
I'll make that.
Second?
All those in favor here?
Aye.
Aye.
So Next up, I have important dates for our upcoming
Right,
election
right.
items.
Yeah, we haven't,
So our
Yeah.
January meeting would be on schedule for the second Tuesday in January for the 14th. It seems to fall right in line for when you're allowed to start your budget hearing, so it sounds like it would be perfect for lining up that same. And then it also gives you 2 additional dates if there was a snowstorm or something that prevented us from being able to do it on the 14th. So I thought we would shoot for that date. And then
sounds good to me.
Good. We have, from January 22nd through January 31st, those 10 days, any candidates can file. The only seat that we have is one commissioner seat that's open. And if someone chooses to run, I would have the proper paperwork for us to turn in to Barbara. And Barbara would be here on the 31st until 5 p.m. if you wanted to sign up, or someone wanted to sign up in person. So those are those dates. And then voting day is March 11th. And our annual meeting, if we're gonna go with the usual schedule, would be Thursday, March 13th at 6 p.m.
My
All right.
question, that Tuesday is also when we normally would have our regular meeting?
And generally, we do not have a regular meeting
That
when
month.
we have that scheduled, so.
Okay.
Yep.
Why do we do it on the Thursday?
Because voting is Tuesday at the town, the school is Wednesday, and
Oh, so
weekend's
that's
Thursday.
right, that's right. It's the same time we do voting.
Yeah, it's just been that way a long time.
Long time, I remember now.
Yeah. So if those dates sound good, we'll start with getting this information on the
Unless
website.
someone has a
and the
conflict, yeah, I'd say,
Website and the newspapers?
Fine with that.
Okay.
so onward, superintendent reports.
So just wanted to note that the sewer force main project is hit 90% design, and it's gone to DES and rural development for final approval. We will not be likely putting a bid package together for that, so we'll reduce some of the engineering costs there involved with getting it to 100%, because we may change order it into the Main Street project. So we got some pricing from the contractor from Main Street, and that contractor provides some pricing that's within budget. So we are proposing to move forward with that. We hope to have a change order drafted for the December meeting.
Is this one over here?
Yes.
Did you get the trees cut?
Nope, that'll be part of the contractor's responsibility.
Because I thought that you couldn't do that until after November or something like that.
Yep, so I believe the end of this week starts the open period for tree cutting, and then that closes in April.
Oh,
I wonder if the bat season has been a little bit delayed because I've seen bats flying around still.
Mhm.
Because it's been so warm. I don't know that they've fully gone into hibernation.
So yeah, even at this pace, if we get a change order in December, it probably won't be January or February till the logger could probably get in there to cut anyway.
sure.
So that's moving forward. And then we have also been working with DES in regards to soils that we have stockpiled at the treatment plant that were from Main Street, trying to get the better understanding of the rules to be able to reuse those soils on future projects, and also for the reuse of soils currently under the roadway in future roads such as Highland Street Reservoir and Emerson. So there's different processes and different regulations that essentially tell you what you can and can't do with soils under the roadway, and we may be working with the town and DOT on a waiver of some of those rules in order to be able to reuse the soils under future roadway projects. So this is an up and coming thing. We've been in contact with the town's engineer, HEB, specifically for the Highland Street project.
And all that dirt you have stored down there, what's with that?
That could potentially be reused.
Oh, wonderful.
So we also have been in touch with Reftelis and our auditors and MTS to try to put the numbers together of where we're at for the end of '23. So like I mentioned, we're trying to determine how much unrestricted cash we have for both water and sewer. You know, a lot of the time we have a single bank account, a single checking account that has both monies in it, but we don't really have a breakout of what those monies are on a regular basis. So trying to get those numbers from the auditors and MTS so that we can make the decisions for next year and beyond, so that we can figure out maybe we want to fund part of a project with some cash that we have on hand, or put money away in reserve. So that's a practice we need to start back on again in the next couple of years, figuring out how much money is going into savings, how much money we would need to potentially offset some projects as well to keep the debt service down.
Yes.
So hopefully we'll have a better handle on that. Christian and MTS is also looking into that because their accounting software doesn't fully reflect our cash balances either. They have everything coming through the cash accounts, all the projects. So trying to back out all the due tos and due froms has been a little arduous to try to figure out exactly how we can match the cash accounts. So hopefully our auditors can shed some light on those balances. But we are working towards that.
I do have one thing, is that Federal Home Loan Bank, we've increased our letter of credit to $10 million, because the money in our checking account plus the money in all the escrow accounts comes damn close to $10 million. So we now
For our protection.
have put that in
Yep.
for our protection.
Mm-hmm.
No, how does that work? What do you, your bank give you a
The
credit
bank.
line?
The bank, Meredith Village gets a credit line from the Federal Home Loan Bank in case they go out of business.
Oh, I see.
Our money is secured. That's
Oh,
to
I see.
secure our monies that we
It's
have.
like 250,000
So it's
is the
like
normal bank account coverage.
Right.
So
Right.
because it
Yeah.
exceeds,
It's like
they have to
the
go out with
business, yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that was executed, received that today.
Great.
So, yeah, several years ago as well, when we started these projects, before we had interim finance, and we were using some of our fund balance at the time to float some of the engineering and other expenses. So really trying to gather that picture of, we thought we had this much fund balance each year. We thought we had a surplus, but some years were a little thinner than others. And now that the loans are coming back in and the grants are coming back in, we're finally starting to catch back up to offset some of those expenses. So it'd be really good to have a better picture of our cash flow.
Yeah, no, this is every bit as important as the budget. I mean, it's as far as being able for us to keep an eye on where that's at.
Well, we know what our cash flow is going to be, but we just don't know what our expenses are going to be.
Well, it's more of the fund balance. So
Okay,
so for example, like
So-
the Main Street project, we had some engineering done on that project before the interim loan was taken out. And
okay.
we've just recouped some of that money this past year in '23.
Okay, I see what you mean.
So our fund balance was actually drawn down more than what we had thought originally,
Yeah,
because of some of the decisions that were made at that time. So I don't wanna, tell everyone to, put $1 million away in
Yeah.
reserves when we might not really have that money on either the water or the sewer side.
Hmm.
We wanna make sure we're making decisions with known facts of how much is actually in each account and how much we can anticipate,
receivables back.
right, or to float other projects. So they're important numbers to have, and I don't think we've had a good handle on that, honestly, within the last 5 or so years or more.
They used to do it in 2 separate accounts and everything was split, and it was the most unbearable bookkeeping system in the world.
Well, you still do, don't you? We don't use 2 different accounts, water and sewer?
No, haven't in years.
Everything got melded.
Yes.
fund accounts are there, but the cash account is a single account.
It's one check account.
Right.
Okay.
So that's some of the things that we're working on.
Every time you talk, it costs us money, Jason.
Quick, cut him
I'm not
off.
trying to insult you.
He's gonna mute you, you know? He's gonna find a button.
We got a lot
Alright.
of balls in the air, that's what I would say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. But I think we can make good decisions, so long as we have a good handle on our finances to move the district forward in a manner that keeps up with regulations and also keeps up with our aging infrastructure.
Well, on to the next item, which is, not surprisingly, spending money. Purchase orders. Yeah, I'm gonna read off the recent purchase orders. EJ Prescott Inc., $1,884.74. Ferguson Waterworks, $1,994.88. Power Up Generator Service, $2602.94. Walmart, $495. Chapel Tractor Sales, $436.42. Hack Chemicals, $683.27. Hack again, $285 even. And then last, Sherman Williams Paint, $1,000. Motion
Make a
to,
motion to approve those payables.
Second?
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And there are several others that did come in
I saw those today.
recently this
Yeah.
afternoon, because today is our cutoff, so
I
that's
did
it
go
for
in, I
POs
read
unless it's an emergency until the end of the year. So if you would, please go in and sign
Yep.
off on those. That would be
Yep.
great. We can get those orders processed and hopefully invoiced before the end of the year.
What's this date? The
Sorry?
end of the POs, what does that mean?
Today was our cutoff for POs for the rest of the year,
Really?
Yep.
Why is that?
so that we can get invoices in hopefully before the end of the year and get them paid and processed so we can
Oh,
close
I
out the
see.
year in an orderly
so you want the
manner.
checks to come back and clear?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I see.
Because if we
Okay.
continue purchasing through December,
You
we
did.
may not get invoiced till late
That's right.
January or
And then you
February.
get an
Yeah.
accrual. Okay.
And then that delays the audit process as well.
Okay. Cool.
So last up, public comment. Any comments from anybody on the Dan Marion?
Mr. Marion, 19 Carthage Drive. I want to thank the board for an open discussion on what appears to be small items like replacement of office chairs. And I heard from Ken you had about $4,000 left in one particular account that can pay for it. But despite the small amount of money that you're talking about over a multi-million-dollar budget, I suspect you have, it's the optics. You gotta watch the optics. In the 2 years that I've lived here, I've met a lot of people, and some of these people are really struggling. They're struggling on how to pay their next tax bill, how to pay food bill, how to send kids to college, how to pay their sewer bill. So when you start talking about things like replacing perfectly good office furniture, it has a different feel to it with the optics in a public forum. But I appreciate the discussion and the final resolution to that. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Okay?
Yeah, well, thank you, Dan, for your comment. Anything else?
Now that's
Okay. Appreciate your input. Next meeting of the commissioners will be December 10th. Our last meeting for the year at 5 p.m. And we are now at 6:05 going to go into non-public session by RSA 91A:3, Section 2A for wage discussion.